Our guest today is a veteran wing commander from the Air Force. He has served with the forces for 25 years as a helicopter pilot, and presently he continues to chase his passion every day by flying with Pavan Hans as a commercial pilot because that's where he fulfills, or that's where he gets to fulfill his goals of doing just one good thing at least a day, because that's what being a pilot means to him. Now, he was born in an Air Force family and has been an athlete and an NCC cadet right from the get go. And while in the Air Force, he had the opportunity to save many lives of many soldiers and even civilians as a helicopter pilot, from some very inhospitable terrains. Now, he has commanded two missile units, even one as a station commander, and he was part of the Directorate of Air Force Inspection Team, which is an elite group of people that are considered to be the best of the best. And he hung up his uniform finally in 2013 from the headquarters of the Western Air Command in Delhi and joined Pavan Hans as his present job, where he has been instrumental in flying operations from from places like Jammu and Srinagar. And he has had huge appreciations from the people of Jammu and Kashmir and has been commended by the IG of the CRPF. Now, he is the one and the only Wing Commander RPS Sodhi. Welcome, Wing Commander, to Seekh Talks.
Thank you, Gulraj. Thank you so very much for a very warm welcome. I am honored to be on Seekh Talks. It's a huge privilege, and I look forward to a very interactive session.
Oh, wonderful. I'm so happy to have you here because in this lockdown time, there's a lot of things that we need to ask you, because I know you're running missions, critical missions to get supplies and even airlift people from some very, very tough terrain. So I'm going to get into that. But let me just do a couple of more introductions, and then I'm going to get right into asking you some very, very important points that are important to me, at least, and our viewers. All right, so viewers, I'm Gurraj Singh Shahpuri. I'm a business turnaround coach, and I'm proud to be hosting Seekh Talks today because we have RPS Sodhi, Wing Commander Sodhi, with us today. Now, viewers, I'm grateful you've taken your valuable time to be here because you're going to hear stories from a hero of our country. And while you and I sit here in the safety of our homes, it is heroes like him, heroes like Wing Commander Sodhi, that make it possible for us to do this. So let me thank him for being here. Samirji and Seekh Talks, thank you for making Seekh Talks possible for us. And viewers, here are the quick rules of engagement. For the next 45 minutes, Wing Commander Sodhi and I are going to be sharing a lot of thoughts, and he's going to be sharing a lot of unclassified stories because that's what he's allowed to tell us. But I need you to actually keep him engaged as well by dropping in your comments and asking a lot of questions. And at the right time, I'm going to ask him to delve into those questions. Now, without further waiting, Wing Commander Sodhi, it's such an honor to have you here with us. I want to ask you, what happened on Vaisakhi just a few days ago?
Okay. This happened on 13th of April. Vaisakhi Day. I got a call that there has been an engagement in the Jammu sector. This is a place ahead of Kishtwar, where the militants have, attacked the police guys, and two SPOs, that's the special police officers, are very badly injured. One had probably died. The other one is almost on the verge of collapsing, and we need you to evacuate them as soon as possible. So after I got airborne, I landed in Kishtwar to check on the area that I was supposed to go. And to my surprise, I asked them to give me the coordinates to go to. They said, "Sorry, sir, we can't give you no coordinates. There's no communication, no mobiles working." And now that put me in a tight situation. I said, "How do I go and pick him up? Where do I go?" They said, "Sir, this is the place, and hopefully once they see you or they hear the helicopter, probably they will light up some smoke for you, the civilian guys."
Yes.
So without wasting time, I said, "All right, we'll do a search and rescue kind of an operation, which we had been earlier also doing so in the Air Force." So I got airborne, and this place is about 12 minutes flying time ahead of Kishtwar, deep into the hills, with a place called Tundar. Now, fortunately for me, these guys did light up the smoke, which was a kind of guidance. I said, "All right," I picked up the smoke and we went in there. This particular casualty evacuation was from, they have these steppies made out in the mountains to do the farming part of it.
Right.
And To my bad luck, it was a plowed up field, and we had a lot of obstructions. There was a tree which was very close. So once I come in for a landing part of it, and I touch down, the helicopter would sink either to the left or to the right, or
Oh,
nose up, nose down. It was extremely unsteady. Now, uh, I had to find some kind of a hard ground. So I get airborne, tried 3 4 times, till I could finally put her on the very edge of this steppy, because they can't plow so much to the edge, and that's where I fitted in one skid of my helicopter, and the other skid, though it was like on the ground, but it was not. I'm holding it's actually hovering at 7,000 feet. Field was at 7,000 feet, and I'm
fantastic.
holding the aircraft full power on, and cross controls, winds are pushing something, all those variables. There's a huge number of variables for flying, and especially the helicopters. uh, we managed to put her down in a very shaky condition, but firmly on ground, and I could put this guy into the helicopter. My engineer was with me. We managed to save him, and once we landed back in we landed back at Jammu. That was again a 45 minutes flight. I am very happy to share it with you. The guy survived. The guy
Wow.
has survived. He had an axe wound. He has survived.
Ek cheez hai, so tell me,
Though he's critical, but he survived.
what thoughts were crossing your mind at that time? Because you had to consider, you had to weigh the greater good, or does the means justify the end? Because you were potentially putting everybody at risk for one person, and I think part of your judgment or part of your mental calculation had to be that, look, is this worthwhile or not? What was going through your mind on that day?
Yes. The foremost thought in my mind was that I am not going to leave him back. I am going to save him no matter what.
That's it.
Now, yes, you are absolutely right. When you say that, you're risking the others also, but then
Yes.
that's a calculated risk. If you don't do that risk part of it, probably you will never be able to fulfill your missions. It
Yeah.
won't work out that way. So it was a calculated risk, and I was very firm about evacuating him. And uh, your old experience does come in handy. Yes.
Yeah, I can bet. What did it mean to you doing this on Visakhi Day? Because that must have been an impact to you. But tell us about that.
You felt like the gurus. He had picked up 5 Panch Pyaras. It was a
Yeah,
huge celebration for me on Baisakhi, of trying to, of being successfully doing something, such a thing that, saving a life on Baisakhi for me was the biggest celebration so far I've had in my entire life. I was extremely happy to do that. Extremely happy to that.
now, what is going on in this picture over here?
Oh, Panchkula Palace is back in Valley for relief ops. Yes. You see, uh, it happens. When the lockdown was announced, uh, I was also very keen to get back home, but then I had a call from my GM who said that, sir, we don't have any pilot at the moment, because they will not be able to fly in today from till the time the lockdown opens, and you can go back. You have the opportunity to go back, but would you consider staying back?
Ah,
And without batting an eyelid, I said, all right, I'm staying back. No issues, no problems. He says, sir, you can think it over. There is no pressure, but if you can, it'll be a great service. I said, absolutely, I volunteer for it, and I
nice.
got my ticket cancelled in the next 5 minutes. I'm staying back, no problems. So I volunteered and stayed back, and yes, it paid. It paid, though I was there for 42 days. I just got back day before yesterday, and I saved quite a few lives. Did a lot of medical supplies where I was instrumental in bringing them to the very remote areas. And
Yes,
some of the casualties during this time that I evacuated were not necessarily vis-a-vis the militants, but yes, normal people who don't have means of getting to the medical aids. I flew
yes,
them to Kishtwar, Jammu, and got them out. Yes, and I was very scared that I don't know whether they are COVID cases or not. But we
yes.
did take adequate precautions, and hopefully I am not positive.
Let's hope not. I know that beyond tough choices right now, there still is a militant situation. Is that true? Is there still a militant situation going on in the hills, even though there's a lockdown? Are there militant groups that are taking advantage of this calm and quiet that's going on?
Yes. Yes, you have very, very rightly brought it out, Gulraj. Because of this lockdown, the entire police force, in the J&K state had its attention paid off elsewhere to keep themselves safe and, trying to monitor the people that they don't spread this COVID virus.
Yeah.
The militants have suddenly started taking advantage of this and we have had a few days back a major operation in Sopor where the CRPF guys lost 3 guys, and there has been a spurt of militant activities. They're taking full advantage of it. Yes, there's a huge amount of surge taking place into it.
Wow. So we are in talks for our viewers. We are in talks with Wing Commander RPS Sodhi. He is one of our nation's heroes, and he is sharing with us some of the incidents that have taken place in the past. Now, Wing Commander, tell us what inspired you to get into the armed forces? Was this a childhood dream for you?
Your father is everybody's father is a role model for the child.
Yeah.
So my dad was in the Indian Air Force, and I would see him in the uniform, and I would also, as a child, want to be in the uniform.
Hanji.
He was a huge influence on me, though not necessarily to be in the Air Force per se. I sometimes dreamt of being an IPS officer, but that's a different story altogether. And because he was in the Air Force, and I got more associated with the real planes, and to fulfill this dream of mine, while I was, they stuck me when I was in class 8 that I need to be in uniform.
Okay.
So when I talked to my dad that I want to be in uniform, he was taken by. He says the only way you can, as of now, be is join NCC.
Hanji.
So I became a NCC cadet, and I was very happy wearing the uniform. Twice a week, we used to have parade, and I would wear the uniform, go, feel very happy about it, and then I continued in the NCC for till I graduated, and that played a major role in my actually becoming a pilot, because that's when in my senior wing NCC I got exposed to glider flying. I flew gliders. I also did quite a bit of powered flying. And here I would like to bring out something which is very nice. As you start becoming confident about flying, or you realize that your passion is more towards flying, and I would volunteer to stay back. I used to go to Sanewal, if you've heard, that's a small airport next to Ludhiana, on the outskirts. So we would go there on weekends, and I would continue flying well past the last bus timing, which was supposed to have to take me back from Sanewal to Ludhiana. I would say, no, I'll fly. And although my friends would leave, I would continue flying well till the time the instructor would give me the sortie till sunset. And I had no problem. I would walk back almost 15 to 17 kilometers on Saturday, Sundays, just because I wanted to continue flying and not take the bus. It happened so many times. And that's how you start realizing that, you are more passionate about flying than about joining the IPS.
So then you figured it out.
I started showing more in favor of flying and joining the Air Force then. So that's how, over a period of time, then I got more motivated towards joining the Air Force. And also, there's something which most of our viewers may not be aware of. If you are a Air Wing NCC cadet, you don't have to write an exam that is what we call the Combined Defense Services exam, CDS exam. You go directly for SSB.
Okay.
So I went directly for the SSB, and I got selected there. And of course, the rest is history. I was selected. I was found medically fit, and when the call letters came, I then didn't think twice. I said, no, I think I must join the Air Force. That's how I ended up joining the Air Force.
So this was your calling. Now, I'm going to ask you about your childhood in a bit, but speaking of childhood, there's a story I saw published on the net about a young child, a young boy, who gave you an apple. Tell us about that.
Oh, Yes, that was I would call it. It influenced me very very strongly.
हाँ
This
जी,
is when I was posted in Tezpur, and we had to go for a casualty evacuation. It was a civilian casualty evacuation, and I recall it. It was a place called Daprijo, and from there we had to bring the casualty to Itanagar. This all both places are in Arunachal Pradesh.
हाँ जी,
So when we landed there, it turned out to be a lady, and normally you have an attendant, either a family member or a medical attendant on board. Unfortunately for that lady, that day the only attendant she had as a person she had as an attendant was a small boy of about 8 to 10 years.
right.
We got airborne, landed in Itanagar, and once we were there, we switched off, and I was waiting for the casualty to be taken to the ambulance while the attendants were helping her. This small boy runs up to me, digs into his bag, brings out a apple, and he just stretches his a hand to me, and he's giving me that apple. So I just said, no, no, you take it. It's okay. We don't have the same dialect. I don't understand what he's saying, but
Yeah,
the look in his eyes, the expression on his face was so heart touching. It was like he was saying, "A million thanks for saving my mom." I assume that lady happened to be the boy's mom,
yeah,
and she was his mom, and that's where it suddenly, some spark flow in that wing command. That time I was a flying officer. That Sodi, never ever will you take your profession easy or casual. You will not do this. So many lives depend on you.
yeah,
That realization came that day. You are connecting them. Somebody's father, mother, son needs you in this inhospitable terrains, and these people look up to you like gods. Believe me, helicopter pilots in the eastern sector are taken as gods.
yeah.
They even touch your feet, at times out of sheer respect
Wow.
that you saved us, or we take the food supplies there. You will understand they've been all most of the times, they come under the spate of floods. The
Yes.
only means of giving them food at that time are the helicopters. So you were kind of gods to them. And I said, no, I'm never going to let any person down, not only here, ever in my life will I never let down a person just because, I took it easy. No. And since then, I have never ever turned back. Never ever.
You never
And
turn back.
I've done innumerable missions. And I've always been touch wood. God has been kind. I've been very successful. Always done the mission successfully.
Yeah. Now tell me then, I'm going to probe a little bit into this because, and I hope you don't mind. I know that maybe you might have had to make some tough choices here and there because you said to me that I took up this mission now and I'm never going to let people down. Have you ever had to take a certain type of a certain type of a person? Probably what I'm getting at is somebody that you desired not to take. Have you ever had to make a tough choice by actually airlifting somebody that you feel that you know what this goes against my values?
Yeah, like I said, you are put to test,
Yeah.
and this was again one of those situations where the militants had attacked an army camp while they were again it was somewhere in Jammu sector.
Yeah.
There were casualties both on the army side and the militants also were injured. There were some civilian casualties also who had come into the cross firing and stuff, but they had their choice was towards, or the bend was towards the militants. Now I was flying the Me-17s at that time, and we had gone for evacuating these guys. Now once you land there,
Yeah.
you are in a quandary that one side people are fighting for the nation and
Yeah.
he's injured. Not he, there were a couple of them, they are injured. The other side are these guys who have been misled and are against my nation, but they are human beings. So that was a question in my mind: should I or should I not? So the first question was, okay, I'm very clear in my mind. First, I'm going to evacuate the army guys.
Yeah.
But I told those guys, because they were at that time begging. So I said, you don't have to beg me. In their lingo, they call it, कि आप भी खुदा का बंदा है, don't worry.
And
I will come back for you. I will come back for you. And after taking the army guys safely to the place that they were supposed to have been evacuated, I went back, evacuated those guys, those civilians, and the militants also with the police guys, lest they blow up my helicopter on the lighter side. So I did evacuate them. Yes, it was a tough choice because somewhere in my mind I did feel that they deserve to be, they deserve this. But then,
Yeah.
I believe that I believe in humanity,
Yeah.
and I say that my religion. I am a Sikh gentleman, but I believe in humanity, and I did evacuate those guys. I did that.
I'm in talks with Wing Commander RPS Sodi, and the reason we're featuring him on Seekh Talks is because of his incredible story on Vaisakhi when he airlifted from an impossible situation in very rough terrains. And we said, you know what, a hero story like this from a hero for our nation, we have to hear this. And he's been a hero for this whole lockdown period as well, because he's been pivotal in supplying, in airlifting supplies to some very, very difficult terrains, taking things there, bringing them back, putting your own life at risk every single day for our people. Thank you for that. Wing Commander, ek cheez hai. So I want to ask you about other difficult choices you've had to make. Now, you talked about your humanity versus your judgment about the right type of person or not, and you, in fact, you even mentioned that, you know what, Khuda ka banda, and you also mentioned that he had been misled, because you're being compassionate enough to understand that, look, this militant is also a person, but he is thinking from a different lens and probably been misled. Now, where have you had to make choices that go against your values?
Oh, there was one huge incident. It impacted me quite a bit. You see, that time we were flying in Silchar area, and I
Yeah.
had again to evacuate the two police guys who had been shot at in an encounter with the militants there in Aizawl area, Mizoram state. So once I landed there, what I see is that these two guys, SPOs, one has had a gunshot wound in his stomach, the other one had in his neck.
Oh, wow.
So, and they were bleeding and barely able to talk. So once we put the casualty into the helicopter, the
Andy.
one of the guys who had a neck wound, I remember his face so very vividly. He says, "Saab, main nahi bachega." And I'm telling him, no, no, don't worry. It's just about 20-25 minutes, and you'll be in expert hands. You will survive. Do not worry. We are taking you. But he had given up that, no, sir, mere ko pata nahi bachega. Barely
Yeah.
able to, talk. Suddenly, he tells me, "Saab, mera ek kaam kariye."
Yeah.
I said, all right, go ahead. Bolta hai, he says, sir, my shirt pocket mein, there's a cigarette pack. I want to smoke. Now, being a Sikh gentleman, I was, we
Yeah.
never even touched cigarettes or leave aside touching a cigarette pack. Now he says, light me a cigarette. I asked my co-pilot to do the needful, who was a non-Sikh gentleman. He says, no, I don't smoke and I will not. So what if he's dying? But he was a little more strong than me. I would say that. He said, no, I won't do that.
Yeah.
I'm a very compassionate guy. I took out his cigarette and I lit for him. Something I did, the cigarette lit, and I gave it to him. He took 2 or 3 puffs and he said thank you. And I kept holding the cigarette. He took one more puff and he said thank you, and I stuffed the cigarette.
Yeah.
Now, it this act clashed with my sentiments as a Sikh officer, with my Sikh values greatly. Though I might have done a deed, but it kept playing on my mind till
Yeah.
for a very long time. And once when I got back home, I shared this with my mom, and I needed some kind of an answer that what I did, was it right or was it wrong?
Yes.
She just put her hand on my head and she said, "Son, you did right. You did absolutely the right thing. You may be a Sikh gentleman. It's very nice to follow our Sikhism, but do not be a fanatic. Do not be a fanatic. And the greater religion is humanity. This is you. What you did was very compassionate. Don't have that burden in your heart. It's perfectly all right. And that is when I just shortly mentioned that I believe more in humanity than my own religion. And that's how I say that I believe in humanity, and I love to do with passion one good deed a day. I must do it.
Now, I want to thank you for sharing this with us because this is a very tough story to share. For the viewers who are just joining in, I'm in talks with Wing Commander RPS Sodi, and he's sharing with us some incredible stories. But the reason why we have him here is because he is a hero to our nation. He has done the toughest landings, the toughest airlifts, and the toughest deliveries known to anybody over the last few days. And he's been instrumental in helping out in the corona situation to very underserved and very difficult to reach in remote areas. Thank you. Now, in a little bit of research I was doing, I've heard some stories from your childhood. You used to tear textbooks. Why did you tear your textbooks? Tell us about that. Did you just feel that
Oh my
education
God.
was and you just wanted to be a pilot? What was that about?
You done good research, Gulraj, good one. This is I was in class 3 or 4 that time, and for me the entire session used to be that the final exams must get over with as soon as possible. At times I would feel, why not my finals can happen after 6 months? Finish it off. The reason was the day my final exams would be over, I would pick up all my notebooks, run onto the rooftop, and start making, tear pages and start making paper airplanes. And I would love to give them flight from rooftop. And I would continue for days together till all the notebooks had been finished. And then I would run down again, pick them up, throw them down again. No sense of time, though not feeling hungry. And my mom always knew that if he's not responding, where this boy is. He just knew he'll be on the rooftop. So I guess the what do you call the neev jedi hundi hai,
Yeah.
that was at a very early stage that I went on to that I was to go on to become a pilot. And here there's another very nice small anecdote I like to share.
Anji.
We used to have those small cars which you had to roll them back
Yeah,
and
please.
release them, then they would move.
Yeah, the pullback forward cars. Yeah.
I would buy them by the dozens, and the first thing I had to come home and do was uproot the frame of the car from the machine, and
Yeah.
then out of cardboards I would build airplanes on them. And my joy was pulling the airplane, letting it go, and see which one goes the farthest, and playing like that. My dad and mom used to be so, they didn't know whether to get angry or happy. One thing I was destroying, the other part I was constructing. So yes, that's how the the thing about my flying and pilot thing was written. My relatives would generally come and say that, "Hey, Munda te pilot hi banega."
That's very funny. So you would just have the chassis and you would put your own airplane on top of it. Wow. So now tell us about,
Yeah.
let's talk more about your childhood. Have you had to stand up for yourself through your childhood to your army days? Tell us about that because you've been standing up for the nation. You've been standing up for the underserved areas. You've been standing up for people who you feel are misguided, whether they be militants or whether they be civilians. When have you had to stand up for yourself?
Yeah, that was my dad had been posted to Agra at that time, and
Anji.
we would be changing schools very often. This was in class eighth. Yes, I recall that. And as I walked on the first day of my school in Agra, I walked in there, and I just walked in and kept my bag on the first chair,
Yes.
hoping that my teacher will come and tell me and allot me a seat where to sit. But since I didn't know, so I just walked in, put my bag there. In walks another boy.
Anji.
He just says, "Whose bag is this?" And I said, "It's mine." He just picks it up and throws it on the floor. Now that I found that very offensive, and I said, "He's not even said hello or trying to be friends. He's just come and thrown my bag. That's not done." So I was trying to be, asking where do I sit, what it is. He just pushed me or did something rough on me, and it escalated into a small fight.
Wow.
Little did I realize, he just scooted out of the classroom and comes back 2 to 3 minutes later, and he walks in with a guy who is huge, and later on I came to know was his brother, and in class 11.
Okay.
So this guy beat me nice, and he goes back. Immediately I beat up the classmate of mine. He
Again.
gets beaten, he goes back again. So he goes back, calls his brother, who gives me a harder beating. He leaves, I beat him again. He runs out again. So the third time when that senior guy came in, he now knew that this is not going to work out with the beatings. It has to be the other way. So he made
Yeah.
us shake hands, all those things happened. Meanwhile, the teacher came in, and I was allotted a seat. But then that's the time I realized that if I don't stand for myself, or
Yeah.
something went in, that you got to be for yourself also. And
Yeah.
somewhere that thing came in, and maybe it got cemented over a few years or through my career in the Air Force. And the best part is the very same boy whom I beat up turns out
Mm.
to be in the Air Force. Years later, we met again, and he's still serving, and he's an Air Commodore now. And we are very good friends, but we always go over that incident whenever we meet.
Do you ever meet his brother? That's what I want to
So,
know.
yeah.
That's hilarious. So, did you tell us why did you leave the armed forces to do civilian service then?
Oh, you see, I was, I presumed I was doing very well in the Indian Air Force. I have had very nice postings, and I was doing quite well. But then, beyond my reasoning or reasonable reasoning, I failed to get my next rank.
Okay.
So that was a very big demotivating factor for me. Though I had never planned to be in the civilian field, but
Yes.
whatever be the circumstances, I then chose that whether I have to choose whether I should continue in the Air Force or should I quit. And you understand, self-respect is very important. One
Yeah.
must never compromise on that.
Yeah.
So I chose that, yes, since flying is my passion, I can continue flying outside. And I had to go through the whole regime of passing all the exams again. I did all
Yeah.
that, got my civil license, and I have moved on, but with no hard feelings whatsoever towards the Air Force. I'm hugely indebted to the Air Force. There must have been better guys who were more worthy of the next rank. So I'm happy, and I'm happy to be continuing to fly and save lives. Maybe that would have taken a back seat if I was in the Air Force, because it's a paramedical structure, and then once you're becoming senior enough in the Air Force, your quantum of flying reduces.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the way it is.
So I'm happy to be on this one.
You're happier
Yeah.
to be doing what you do. Now we have. I'm just going to point out that a couple of people that know me, we have a couple of common friends apparently. Amit Dixit feels that you were in his class, and so does Dr. Sanjay Gupta. And
Oh yeah.
wow,
Yes,
classmates
yes,
of yours,
yes. They are my class. They are my class eight classmates.
the usual
They are my
suspects.
class eight classmates.
Now Samir
Yeah.
Singh is asking that how did you choose to become a helicopter pilot in the first place? Why was it helicopters? Because you were tearing out planes
Oh
for a
yes,
long time now.
yes, yes, yes. You see, when you join the Air Force in the flying branch,
Yeah,
the Air Force takes you to make you a fighter pilot.
yeah,
All of us also go in because the charm and glamour associated with a fighter
pilot.
pilot is far greater than being a helicopter pilot.
Yeah,
But unfortunately for me, my sitting height, as taken in by the Air Force doctors, was
yeah.
more.
Okay.
And I was unfit for quite a few fighter aircrafts because when I would wear the helmet, my head would touch the canopy, and they
Yeah.
said that in case I had to have an ejection, I would probably hurt my neck and could result in
Ah,
paralysis waist down.
oh,
So
okay.
now the choice came in for the, I still had a choice of flying the transports or the helicopters.
Yes.
And when we would all cadets be sitting together and talking, and the general talk was that helicopters are much more difficult to fly,
Yeah, that's what I hear. Yeah.
and why get into something more difficult? But for me, uh, taking up the difficult task
Yeah.
has always been a passion with me. I have always have had, or my psyche is built on have faith in yourself, confidence
Yes.
follows, and you will achieve it. And it was I had no clue about the role of the helicopters in the Air Force then as a cadet, but
Yes.
I opted that I'll take on the helicopters. And once I got into the operational helicopter flying, I think I made a wonderful decision, because I think as a fighter pilot I would not have been saving lives, or
Yeah.
or saving lives in a different sense, protecting people, than
Yeah.
actually picking them up and getting them to the hospital is what I mean. So
Yeah.
yes, I feel it was the right choice,
No, wonderful.
and
That
that's
is,
how that degree of difficulty motivated me.
yeah. No, that is the way you are able to do one good deed a day, because so many people you airlift, so
Oh
many
yes.
people you
uh,
rescue. That is
no,
incredible.
no, not necessarily, Guraj, that being a helicopter pilot is a means to do that one good deed a day, but you may not be getting a casualty every day.
Yeah.
I would, when I say I'd love to do a good deed a day, it could be as simple as sitting in my house during these COVID times and doing ardas for somebody who I know or do not know requires a little bit of, you know, a push. And I think doing one ardas, it's so simple. You may even laugh at it. If I go past a hospital anytime, not
Yeah.
in these times, any times, or for that matter, if I see a newly wedded a lady who's wearing that chuda going, I always do an ardas for them that bless them with a very happy married life. If I'm going past a hospital, I always pray for those people who are there required to be surviving, and I also pray for the doctors that give them that skill to save those lives.
Wow.
It's as simple as that.
Wow.
It's as simple as that, and I still do it.
So you don't need to be making a rescue mission. You just have to have your heart wishing their
No,
best. Wow, that is
yeah,
something. That is something.
yeah,
By the way, Manoj Kapoor is saying that he studied with you at KV1 at Agra as well, and he's saying that
yes, yes,
Sodi
yes.
Reena Bhattacharya ma'am is also watching your show. So that
Oh, that was my teacher there.
okay.
If she's watching, my greetings to ma'am. Greetings to you, ma'am, Reena ma'am.
Let's hope you didn't give her a hard time.
How
Now,
wonderful!
tell us
Thank you
why.
so much for connecting me with my erstwhile teacher.
Absolutely. Now, I want to hear what motivates you so much about JNK, because the people of JNK love you. You've gotten a lot of appreciation from your seniors in JNK because of running very difficult missions. Why is it that JNK has been on your mind so much?
I'll rewind a little bit. You see, when I joined the this company, my present company, that is Pavan
Mhm.
Hans.
Yeah.
Uh, yes, I was tasked to take. They had just taken in the contract from J&K government to provide air connectivity to the civilians there. But most of my pilots who were in the Pavanans were very skeptical about flying there. Reasons being the current situation of militancy, insurgency in Srinagar.
Yeah.
So once I took on the I said yes, I'll fly there. The rest of the pilot community, they were very they got a little unfriendly with me for saying yes to fly there and risking my life. Trying to be very magnanimous and all those explicits they used for me. I said no, it's not that. My counter question to them was a very simple one. and it's a twofold answer why I started flying, or I love to fly in J&K. One is, how are you sure staying in Chandigarh, Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, you will wake up tomorrow?
Yeah.
You don't know. You don't know when your time is up. How do you know taking a walk on a roadside, you may not slip on the footpath and die, or a car
Yeah.
hits you from
Absolutely.
behind?
Absolutely.
The When your time is up, whether you're in Jammu or Srinagar or in any other place. So why are you scared? Don't be scared. And the second reason was, because when I fly in J&K and I realize that their road connectivities are not good,
Yeah.
especially so even if the roads exist, they are all snowbound in winter months, and
Yeah.
sometimes the snow comes in as early as late September or early October onwards. The roads are shut. Now imagine if a lady is pregnant, she needs
Yeah.
medical support.
Yeah.
He
Absolutely.
has to go through that, and if you don't do that, she probably will die during childbirth.
Yeah.
And I've seen these things happen so many times. So when you are in a situation like that and you say, yes, I am the road for them, I am the means, I am there for them, why
Yes.
not? God has given you such a good skill to fly a helicopter, and you know it just makes me so happy. And yes,
Yeah.
it fulfills my passion of doing a good deed a day, believing my religion, humanity. So I love to fly in JNK.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much for being with us. It's been an honor to have you on the program. Your stories were right from the heart, and I'm sorry that I probed you a little bit about a couple of childhood incidences and incidents because your teachers and your colleagues and your friends were there too. But I'm glad that you shared the tough choices you had to make. It was wonderful. We've had the honor of to have you on the program a little late because I wanted, right when I heard the Vaisakhi story, I wanted you on the program that very day, but we had a lineup of other people, so I
Oh
said,
yes.
I'm going to save you for a very special occasion, and I'm going to tell the viewers why today is such a special occasion. Now, if people want to get in touch with you, because I've received a WhatsApp message that how can we get in touch with Wing Commander Sodi if we want to just send him a hello or appreciation, would you tell us your email address, and I'll just throw it on the screen quickly?
Yes, it is. Since I'm a helicopter pilot, it is Rotors Sodi, ROTORSSODHI @gmail.com.
Okay.
Rotors Sodi, it's a plural. Rotors Sodi @gmail.com.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm just putting that on the screen right now. Rotors, ROTORS, Sodi @gmail.com. Excellent. Now, thank you so much
Yeah.
for being on our program. It was wonderful that you came online, shared your stories, and shared your thoughts to make our nation great. Wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gulraj, and a very special thanks to Mr. Samir also from the Six Chambers. And it has been a pleasure. And it's wonderful going back in those memories of your younger days, from school days to date. Thank you so very much. I'm so happy that we could be on Seek Talks, and I hope a lot of people are motivated to be helicopter pilots.
No, absolutely. And we have so many comments that are coming in. And Shashi Kumar has just said, you're really an awesome person. And let me tell you, Shashi, he really is an awesome person. Once again, thank you for being with us. With today's Sikh Talk, did you
Bye
know
bye.
that we are completing 4 weeks of our Sikh Talks? That's why I said that today is a very special day for us because it also brings us to the very last of our first season of Sikh Talks. And we wanted to close with this Sikh Talk today. So thank you very much for being with us. And what better way for us to close on such a high note than to have a guest like you? Thank you. And I just wanted to share with our viewers about Sikh
Thank
Talks. Sikh Talks, thank you. Sikh Talks is a platform of ideas and inspiration and insights, and the most amazing guests, and who provide all three of these things. And guests like you, Wing Commander Sodi, that give us a good dose of these things. We're so thankful to each one of our guests for being on Sikh Talks, and we thank them for sharing their stories of knowledge and experience and their heartfelt memories about their careers. Now, together, Wing Commander Sodi, you and the other guests have put together 400 years of experience for us just over the last 4 weeks. So that has been a big journey of learning for us.
How
And
wonderful.
yeah, it is. And it's
How
guests like
wonderful.
you that have made this talk possible, because it could not have been without you. Now, also very special thanks to Samir Singh and the Sikh Chamber of Commerce for making Sikh Talks possible, for creating this platform. And also, I want to give a special mention to Harvinder Kaur, Copland Kaur, Jaspreet Singh Rai, Rohit Nagpal, Sukhdeep Kaur, Gurpal Singh Bumrah, and Manmeet Singh, who contributed their best to make Sikh Talks possible. We are most thankful and obliged to them. And lastly, and not the least, we are most thankful to our guests, the viewers, you, to be on Sikh Talks, because committing to watching the program every single day, loving it, sharing it, sending likes, telling us your valuable feedback, that has been very special to us. And actually, speaking of special, a very special thanks to Manbeen Anand, who has been watching the episode every single time. She has not missed a single episode. So thank you to her and everybody else who has been watching Seek Talk. And if you were not able to watch all the episodes, then we urge you to go through the episodes day by day, because going forward, we're going to put your thoughts and your ideas into how we can improve Seek Talk. So do watch all the episodes and give us feedbacks, because we're confident that we're trying to transform lives, and you watching them and telling us will help us. Throughout the times, gurus, sages, holy beings have repeatedly said that giving, when you give, you shall receive. You know, when you help enough people get what they want, eventually you get everything you want. So don't just learn yourself. Do share these Sikh Talks with other people by forwarding them to others that you think would benefit from them. You can share them on WhatsApp. You can share them on Facebook. So give the gift of learning to millions of others. At the Sikh Chamber of Commerce, our endeavor is to provide you with meaningful content during this lockdown time. So we sincerely pray for your health, we pray for your safety, for everyone around the world, and we sincerely hope that things return back to normal very soon. Now, it's hard for us to say goodbye at the end of our first season, at the end of the 1 month of Seek Talks, but we wish we didn't have to do it, and we're going to be back bigger and better very, very soon. So do give us further feedback. I'm Gulraj Singh Shahpuri. It has been an absolute honor and an absolute pleasure hosting the first season of Seek Talks. Stay safe, stay healthy, keep learning, and everybody keep on shining. Thank you so much for being with us. It's been an honor.